Hello, welcome back to Tactical Tuesday with Johnny Tiger. December 21st, 2021. Kitten is out, so I am flying solo today, which is kind of interesting and coincidental because today we are going to talk about single-handed self-defense, single-handed training, single-handed practice. Sorry, something caught in my throat for a second there. Um, Lately, while training one of my buddies uh, for self-defense, I've been focusing a lot on nothing but jab, nothing but jab, nothing but jab. Unless you go to a good MMA school or a good boxing school, most disciplines rush through your initial combos. Most disciplines, they get your jab, they get your cross, they get your hook, they get your other hook, and they get your uppercut, they get your uppercut. And then for the rest of the duration, you are tied to the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, and all that stuff. Great for cardio, but in my opinion, and in my humble opinion, it's always a bit of a disservice because there's so much tied into each punch. There's so much to discover, so much to learn. And when you don't take enough time to explore them, to work on them, then you'll end up with six incomplete punches rather than one super amazing, effective punch. So why is it so important to capitalize on just this one single hand? Well, several reasons I can give you. One is you might not always have the use of two hands. Huh? Sometimes you have something you're protecting with the other hand, like your partner. Sometimes you have something you're holding in your other hand, maybe like something very valuable, your iPhone. Sometimes you might be trying to reach for something with your other hand, or, as the worst possibility, sometimes a person may have a weapon and you are trying to wrestle the weapon away with your other hand. Your other hand is busy. Now you have to count on this one simple jab to save the day. So if your jab is not as good as it could be, if your single-handed attack not as good as it could be, then you are reducing your own chance of survival. Also, what if your other hand is injured? What if during the fight you fell down and you do the unspeakable, you brace yourself with your other hand, and now you get back on your feet and you find, oops, you broke your wrist. On the other hand, do not. Now you're one hand short. If you always rely on your two hands, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right combo, now you are kind of only half effective. What if you need to do something with the other hand, such as reach into your pocket to get your phone, to call the police, or to open the door so you can escape, or to reach for a self-defense tool or some improvised weapon on the side, and the person is pressing in, maybe not just one person, but multiple people pressing in. What if you have to rely on just one hand to hold them long enough for you to get whatever you need to do? Many reasons means that for ultimate survival, ultimate tactical advantage, we need to get the most we can out of every attack, every limb. Your left leg should be able to hold the fight. Your right leg should be able to hold the fight. Your left hand should be able to hold the fight. Your right hand should be able to hold the fight. Because guess what? If you are devastatingly good with just your left hand, that means if suddenly you throw your right hand in there, now you are nearly unstoppable. Of course, no one is truly unstoppable, but you get the drift. This has been referenced many times in pop culture, in animation and cartoon and video games. Just for example, I remember there's a Street Fighter video game, I believe named Cody, and a character in the King of Fighter video game by the name of Yamazaki. Both of these characters, for most of their fighting, they refuse to use their right hand. So they do a lot of their fighting with just the one hand alone. The reason being, their right hand is so devastatingly strong that they feel that no one is really worthy of them using their right hand in the fight. So when they finally pull out that right hand and start using it, then it's completely crazy. They become really, really unstoppable people. Now, of course, real life is not like anime, it's not like cartoon, but the same principle applies. If I can be very confident, very good in single-handedly defending myself in a fight, then I know if I have to use both hands, then I am twice as effective. One-handed effectiveness is not anything new. If we look back in human history, in the real martial arts, built upon war, built upon the battlefield, we'll notice that a lot of the stuff were counting on one hand getting the job done. For example, fencing. Most of the sword fighting technique, unless you're working with long swords, and then that's a lot of two hands. Hand and half sword or master sword use two hands sometimes. But other than that, even knife fighting, a lot of the time, it's just one hand only. And in fact, if you look back in human history, you'll notice that most warriors that try to wield two swords at the same time, or two knives, or two anything at the same time, were not really all that effective. I know that people who follow the whole Miyamoto and samurai two-sword form and stuff like that will have something to say about this, but okay, he was the only person. He was the only person who ever gotten good at the two-blade style. That's why he's special. Okay? If it was that easy, if it was that practical, then more people would be doing it. The reason that more people didn't do it because it's not practical. So this all shows us that most of the time to rely on one hand, there is a principle for that. In war, on the battlefield, in fighting. That is not to say that next time you go into a fight, you just stick one hand in your pocket and start using one hand, okay? That would be silly. But when you are training, try to do it sometimes. Just one hand. Tie one hand behind you. We do that sometimes in combat training when we're sparring. Tie one hand behind you and the other person have the use of both hands and see how you fare. Right? Tie one hand behind you and have to defend yourself against 2 or 3 opponents. See how you fare. Okay? These are all very important things to do while you're training. Today, I'm going to give you guys a few quick examples of how to get the most out of that that one hand, out of mostly your jab. But even for your left hand, it's not just your jab. Okay? Let's quickly go through some of the possibilities of just the left hand alone. Right? For my left hand, I have my jab, I have my hook, I have my uppercut, I have my backhand, I have my hammer fist, I have my hammer fist to the groin, I have my backhand to the groin, I have my finger strike to the eye, I have my break hand to the throat, I have my clothesline to the neck, I have my forearm strike, I have my elbow straight vertical elbow and my horizontal elbow. I have my dropping elbow. I have my back elbow. How many is that? That is like way past 10. Okay, 10 different things. More than 10 things you can do. With that just one side of your body. Okay? So, if someone wants to be harassing me, and if I need to do something, I can count on this one hand to hold the person off in the front, while my other hand do whatever you need to do. Suddenly, I got myself to control out. Okay? If I can be very good at throwing out this jab whenever I want and to get the most out of it, then my right hand, all you have to do is worry about blocking and shielding my face, shielding the side. So suddenly, I need to, pow, right hand comes out of nowhere. See? Also, throwing just one hand requires way less energy than throwing two hands. So let's look at some possibilities and things that you guys can try out when you're training, when you're working on your back work, on your pad work. One, of course, is a changing level strike with a jab. You don't always have to jab at the face, okay? Although that is very effective. Jab at the face, with the chest, face, chest, face, chest, face, chest, face, chest, face, chest, face, chest, chest, face, chest, face, chest, face, chest. Okay? Change up the level. Right? You can even add little shuffle step. Shuffle in face, shuffle out chest, shuffle in chest, out chest. Shuffle in face, shuffle out chest, down, groin. Then dropping down, hitting the groin. Note, when I want to hit the groin, I do not lower my hand to groin level. Because first, that will telegraph my intention. Second, that will expose my head and my face. So rather than doing that, I'm dropping my whole level. I'm either squatting or dropping down on one knee while jabbing straight out like I would if I was aiming for the head. Okay? So again, this time without the target, and you guys can see how it's supposed to work. Shuffle in head, shuffle out chest, shuffle in head, out chest. You know, you go for the groin, drop groin. And my hand position does not change. I'm just changing my leg position. I'm dropping my whole body low so I can punch into the groin. Some people say, well, yeah, but when you suddenly drop your whole orientation like that, the person can see it coming too. And yeah, if the person is very well trained, that is a possibility. Once I drop down, they might see that I'm going to strike for the groin. But the thing is, my hand is still up here. So if I know that they're guarding the groin, if my groin strike fails, then I can go into grabbing the leg, or grabbing the other leg, or uppercutting as I'm standing up. There's a lot more options than if I was to suddenly drop my hand down here to go for the groin. Now my whole torso, side of my torso, my face, my head, exposed. Remember, when you want to be good at one-handed fighting, it is all about angles. It is all about angles and positioning. That is really true for most of fighting, but especially important when you're using one hand. Why is that? Let me show you that. Let's say I am jabbing. I want to shuffle left. Okay? If I shuffle left, if I'm jabbing with my left hand, let me go to the side so you guys can see this. If I shuffle left and jab, it has still reached my target, right? If I shuffle left and jab, it will still reach my target. But if I shuffle right and I still want to throw the same jab, right? It's going to, at the most, clip the side of the person's head. Okay? It's not going to connect if I step to the right and throw the same jab. So this is when I have to be flexible and think. Okay, I step to a different angle. I need to change my jab angle. So how do we make this work? If I shuffle left and jab, that's cool. I shuffle right, I don't want to throw the same jab. Instead, I want to drop my shoulder and jab into the tummy or into the chest and belly. Okay, that one tip of the shoulder will orient the jab into a much more probable target. Okay? So looking at that again, shuffle left, jab to the face, shuffle right, body jab. Shuffle left, jab to the face, shuffle right, body jab. Right? Now, some people think, so does that mean that when I move right, I'm always going to go for the body? That doesn't sound like it's very flexible. No. Because while that is true to a certain extent, when we're just talking about a jab, don't forget about the over 10 different attack positions I have already demonstrated with just one hand. Which means if I am not constrained, restricted to jab, like I wouldn't be in an actual fight. If I shuffle left and jab, I shuffle right, it can be a hook, still the same hand. I shuffle right, it can be an uppercut, and then jab to the face. Okay? Still the same hand doing everything. But once you incorporate the changing of angle, changing of orientation of your own body, it will open up a lot of doors. Now, of course, just because you want to work in one hand doesn't mean the other hand is hanging down by your side, doing nothing. While you're jabbing, or while you're hooking, or uppercutting, the other hand stay by your face, guarding the whole time, just in case something does come out of nowhere from the other side. Right? Now, some people probably think that, okay, so you can attack really good with one hand. That's okay. But what are you going to do when blocking? If you block, if someone throw a punch from my left side, then yeah, my left hand can deal with it. My left hand can deal with it. My left hand can deal with it. But what happens if it comes from the right side? What are you going to do on the right side? What are you going to do then? Right? Well, this is very simple. And go back to me saying blocking the punch, not a very good idea to begin with. So while there are ways to block, to cross block, for example, if the person is punching straight and I am only using my left hand for some reason, then all I have to do is put my left elbow in the way. Right? If the person is hooking across, giving a hook to my right side, obviously I don't want to turn all the way to catch it, but I don't need to. Right? All I have to do is push my palm out to about my right shoulder. So if you look at this, my right palm will be at shoulder level. Now I'm not relying on my palm to stopping the hook. That would be madness. But I'm relying on my palm to slow it down enough for me to move my head back. Okay? So there are ways for your left hand to play intervention, to run intervention between you and incoming attack on the other side. But in the end, remember, I always say, the best way to deal with an attack is to shut it down before you come out, which means someone try to hook punch me from the right, rather than try to block, I'm just going to come in, straight in to the face with my left hand. Okay? I want to be inside his reach. And that is option number one, is to shut it down before you come up. Option number two, get out of the way. Step out of the way. You don't have to block it. The blocking a punch, for the most part, is one of the least advantageous, least preferable option in a fight. Because how do you know it's a fish? What if there's a spiky, sharp ring on the finger? What if there's a brass knuckle in there? What if there's a small knife in the hand? You don't realize. So blocking it is never a good idea unless you have no other choice whatsoever. In the end, while I hope that most people never get into a fight and also never get into a fight where they have to rely on just one hand, it is an extremely important skill to acquire to be able to do it just with one hand. So it's something extra for you guys to practice at home, something extra to work on. If you have a punching bag, if you have a punching target of any kind. By the way, even if you don't have punching bag, depending on your living situation, I want to get that out of the way, depending on your living situation, because some of you might have parents or wives that are going to give you hell for doing this. But worst to come to worst, wrapping a bunch of towels and newspaper and then duct tape it around one side of a door frame using that as a striking post is a perfectly viable option as long as you're not planning on shutting that door ever. So be creative and work on your one-handed self-defense, one-handed fighting, because you never know. One day this may become very vital, very important. Thank you for checking out today's Tactical Tuesday. We'll be back again tomorrow for Wisdom Wednesday. For now, have a good night. Bluetooth mode.